The city sprawled beneath her, a glittering tapestry of light and life. LuiiLoviie perched on the rooftop, a shadow against the vibrant cityscape. The night air was alive with the hum of energy, a stark contrast to the quiet darkness that thrummed within her. She was a creature of the shadows now, forever changed, a vampire. The transformation had been swift, brutal, and absolute. It filled her with a power she was only beginning to understand, a darkness that both terrified and seduced her. She could feel it coiling within her, a potent force waiting to be unleashed. The hunger was a constant companion, a primal urge that whispered of blood and power. She pushed the thoughts away, focusing on the mission at hand. The city, for all its beauty, hid a dark underbelly, a secret world of supernatural beings and ancient evils. That was her domain now. She was a protector, a guardian against the shadows. But could she truly embrace this new life, this duality of light and dark? Could she be the warrior the city needed without succumbing to the shadows within? The question haunted her, a constant echo in the silence of her soul. LuiiLoviie had been chosen, singled out for a destiny she hadn't sought. She was the latest in a long line of protectors, tasked with maintaining the balance between the human and supernatural worlds. The mission, as it was known, was an ancient pact, a solemn duty passed down through generations. It was a heavy burden to bear, a responsibility that weighed heavily on her soul. She was still learning, still grappling with the intricacies of her powers and the vastness of the world she had been thrust into. There were ancient texts to decipher, cryptic prophecies to unravel, and a whole host of creatures, both friend and foe, to navigate. And then there was Conchita. The name sent a shiver down LuiiLovie's spine. Conchita, the Necromancer. She was a rogue element, a powerful sorceress who dabbled in forbidden magic, a danger to both the human and supernatural realms. Her name was whispered in hushed tones, a harbinger of death and despair. LuiiLovie's mission was clear: find Conchita and neutralize her before her dark magic could plunge the city into chaos. It was a task fraught with danger, a race against time, against an enemy who commanded the forces of death itself. The old graveyard was shrouded in an eerie silence, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying flowers. A thin mist clung to the ground, swirling around the weathered tombstones like restless spirits. The moon, a pale sliver in the cloudy sky, cast long distorted shadows that danced and flickered in the darkness. LuiiLoviie moved swiftly among the graves, her senses on high alert. The air hummed with a faint, unnatural energy, a telltale sign of Conchita's presence. The whispers had led her here, whispers from the shadows, from the very stones themselves. Conchita had been here, performing her dark rituals, summoning forces from beyond the veil. The graveyard was a place of death, but Conchita's magic twisted and corrupted even the natural order of decay. LuiiLoviie could feel it in the air, a cold, cloying presence that sent chills down her spine. It was a desecration, an affront to the natural order. She stopped before a mausoleum, its once grand facade now crumbling and overgrown with ivy. The air here was thickest, the energy almost palpable. This was where Conchita had performed her ritual. LuiiLoviie was sure of it, but where was she now? The mausoleum's heavy door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior lit only by the faint moonlight filtering through a cracked window. The air was stale and heavy, thick with the smell of decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the floor was littered with broken statuary and the debris of countless seasons. LuiiLoviie stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She could sense traces of Conchita's magic lingering like a foul odor in the air. The necromancer had been here, but she was gone now, vanished without a trace. Frustration surged through LuiiLoviie. Conchita was always one step ahead, her movements shrouded in secrecy and deception. It was as if she could anticipate LuiiLovie's every move, disappearing like a phantom before she could close in. She examined the mausoleum carefully, searching for any clue as to Conchita's whereabouts or her plans. There were strange symbols etched into the walls, arcane markings that pulsed with a faint, malevolent energy. LuiiLoviie recognized them from her studies. They were wards, powerful protective spells designed to keep intruders out and secrets in. Conchita had been thorough, leaving no trace of her presence except for this lingering sense of unease, of darkness barely contained. But LuiiLoviie knew one thing: Conchita would resurface. The question was where and when. In a secluded corner of the city, hidden from prying eyes, Conchita surveyed her handiwork. A web of ethereal threads glowing with an eerie luminescence stretched across the room, each strand pulsing with stolen life force. A grim smile played on her lips. She could feel LuiiLovie's presence even from afar. The young vampire was persistent, she'd give her that, but Conchita had been practicing her art for centuries, amassing power that LuiiLoviie could only dream of. She had foreseen LuiiLovie's arrival at the graveyard, felt her probing at the edges of her wards. It had been almost amusing, watching the fledgling vampire scurry around, so sure of herself, so oblivious to the true danger. Conchita thrived on chaos, on bending the very fabric of life and death to her will. LuiiLoviie, with her naive sense of duty and justice, was just another pawn in her elaborate game, a game Conchita intended to win. She channeled her will, her fingers dancing over the ethereal threads. She could feel LuiiLovie's frustration, her growing desperation. Good, let her come. Conchita would be ready. The air crackled with energy as LuiiLoviie finally cornered Conchita in an abandoned warehouse. Moonlight sliced through the grimy windows, illuminating the necromancer standing amidst a circle of flickering candles. "You cannot hide from me forever, Conchita," LuiiLoviie said, her voice echoing in the vast space. Conchita laughed, a chilling sound that echoed in the vast emptiness of the warehouse. "Foolish girl," she spat, "you think you can defeat me? You are but an infant playing with powers you do not understand." She raised her hands, and tendrils of dark energy, black as pitch, snaked towards LuiiLoviie. The air grew thick, suffocating, as if a great weight had settled upon her chest. LuiiLoviie tried to dodge, but the darkness moved with unnatural speed, wrapping around her like a shroud, squeezing the air from her lungs. Panic flared, hot and desperate. She struggled against the suffocating darkness, but Conchita's power was overwhelming. It felt like being dragged down into a bottomless abyss, her senses overwhelmed by a cold, suffocating dread. "Your life force will fuel my greatest creation yet," Conchita hissed, her voice laced with triumph. "You will be the instrument of my masterpiece." Terror threatened to consume her, but LuiiLoviie clung to a sliver of defiance. She wouldn't let Conchita win, wouldn't let her twisted ambitions come to pass. She was a protector, a guardian, and she wouldn't fail her city. Desperation surged, and with it, a surge of raw power she had never felt before. The darkness within her, the vampire essence she had been trying so hard to control, roared to life. It filled her, coursing through her veins like molten lava, burning away fear and doubt. Her eyes snapped open, glowing with an unnatural crimson light. The shadows around her responded to her newfound power, swirling and coalescing, forming a shield against Conchita's magic. The suffocating darkness that had held her captive receded, pushed back by the sheer force of her will. She would fight. She would embrace the darkness within, wield it as both weapon and shield. This was her burden, her destiny, and she wouldn't shy away from it any longer. Conchita staggered back, her eyes wide with surprise as LuiiLoviie broke free from her grasp. A flicker of fear, quickly masked by anger, crossed Conchita's features. "Impossible!" Conchita hissed, her voice laced with disbelief. "You are nothing but a fledgling." But LuiiLoviie was no longer the hesitant novice Conchita had first encountered. Empowered by her own darkness, fueled by a righteous fury, LuiiLoviie advanced on the necromancer. LuiiLoviie moved with a speed and agility she had never possessed before, her every movement infused with deadly grace. The warehouse became a whirlwind of shadows and light as the two supernatural beings clashed. However, LuiiLoviie was a part of the mission and no longer fought her battles alone. The mission had been keeping tabs on her and Conchita, and her friends were ready for the battle. This battle would not be any battle Conchita had ever experienced. Conchita, caught off guard by LuiiLovie's sudden transformation, fought back with desperate fury. She sensed that she was missing something, almost like a whisper on the wind. But her magic, so potent just moments ago, seemed to falter as if LuiiLovie's newfound power disrupted its flow, but still there was something else. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned, and this warehouse was getting smaller and smaller with all the emotions flowing through the air. LuiiLoviie, fueled by rage and a desperate need to protect her city, had tapped into a wellspring of power she never knew she possessed. Others from the mission were en route, and some would get here within seconds LuiiLoviie never knew she possessed. The question was, could she control it? Why did the mission seem frantic to get to her? She could hear their whispers. Conchita, the Amazonian necromancer, her face contorted with fury, vanished in a swirl of dark energy, just as Melanchol shapeshifter prefers the human python form, aka Frederick before his change, arrived, leaving LuiiLoviie standing alone in the echoing silence of the warehouse. As she looked at her partner Melanchol, LuiiLoviie loved her pet snakes and always wondered if that was why Melanchol loved the form. Melanchol's python form was exotic colours of red, silver, purple and orange, and all colours appeared as diamonds in beautiful arrangement. Melanchol shifted back to his human form of a Viking wrestling warrior and LuiiLovie's bestie. The victory, if it could be called that, felt hollow. She said to Melanchol, "Why the sense of urgency?" It was a temporary reprieve, a chance to catch her breath and assess the situation. Conchita was gone, but LuiiLoviie knew their confrontation was far from over. Melanchol said, "You were sending distress signals to the mission. I was the closest." She had tapped into a power she barely understood. It was a temporary reprieve, a chance to catch her breath and assess the situation. Just as quickly as Melanchol had appeared, also Bianca, her best friend, and now an ethereal being materialized. "LuiiLoviie, are you okay?" A power that both terrified and exhilarated her vampiric nature. The darkness within her, once a source of fear and uncertainty, was now a weapon. The darkness within her, once a source of fear and uncertainty, was now a weapon. She stood there staring at her two dearest friends, one of them a shapeshifter and the other an ethereal being. A tool to be honed and mastered, but at what cost? How did the mission feel, and did they know her full capabilities? She was grateful they had their quarterly meeting coming up, where they would all be present, always mandatory unless... How much of herself would she have to sacrifice to defeat Conchita, to fulfill her destiny? The line between light and shadow seemed to blur with every passing moment. Meanwhile, in a hidden chamber deep beneath the city, Conchita nursed her wounds, her eyes burning with cold fury. She had underestimated LuiiLoviie, but she wouldn't make that mistake again. "You may have won this round, little vampire," she whispered, her voice laced with venomous promise, "but the game is far from over. I will have my revenge, and your precious city will be the prize. See you again for Part 5. Check our Rich and Rich Home Opportunities shop.